Greetings, people. Getting ready for today's class on cetA saMhati. So let's review a bit what we've done in the past. I have to remember those cities. Last week was cetA, the muscles and the tendons. Well, in this case, most of the muscles, but includes how they transmit forward to the snayu, the tendons. The snayu, remember the tendons and the ligaments. The week before that was maja, the bone marrow that nourishes the bone, but also the immune system. Hello, Annette. Hello, everyone. Maja, snayu, cetA. We're progressing step by step. All right, people are logging in. The translators are getting ready. It's going to be a simple, fun class today. cetA saMhati, the nervous system. The nervous system. cetA saMhati. The nervous system is mostly the brain and the brain cells. The nervous system is not limited to just the nerves in your body. The brain is the most important, is the key component. You're getting stronger, Lakshmi Yantra. Well, that's cool. The city work if you apply it. The nervous system, a wonderful, wonderful and complex part, a medical mystery still in some aspects. We're going to even speak of quantum physics today. All right. I was invited at a quantum physics convention called the Quantum Mind. It was a period where there was these movies, The Secret and What the Bleep Do We Know? These kind of movies where a lot of scientists and experts got together to talk about the new age of quantum physics and consciousness. It was cool, it was trippy. So in that time, the organizer of the Quantum Mind, where all the elite gets together and talk every few years, he invited me to the Quantum Mind of 2007. I'm gonna sound like an old geezer now. In my time, it was 2007. I was invited to a convention. And they asked my opinion as one who experienced oneness of consciousness. They say oneness of consciousness is mathematically proven in the field of quantum mathematics. And it is also philosophically proven by philosophers who've studied the question from all sides. They even call it the hard problem. Well, one part of it is called the heart problem, like who's conscious of the one being conscious. Anyway, let's not talk about that today. But I learned something in that convention that is really useful for me. So I was there to teach, but I learned from someone. Stuart Hameroff is an anesthesiologist, a doctor of anesthesiology. His work is to put people unconscious before they receive a surgery. And usually they do it through drugs. But he wanted to understand how consciousness happens in the mind, so that he could find a way to remove consciousness, put people asleep in surgery without the chemical side effects. And he spent his career being an anesthesiologist, but also doing research on how consciousness happens in the brain. So he transmitted to me the knowledge and the wisdom he gained on that. Because studying how consciousness happens in the brain at a purely medical level, he became a super new age hippie, grounded and down to earth, with both his feet on the ground. But it was really cool conversation. So, the Siddhi for the nervous system is cetA saMhati. And the Siddhi for putting your mind in a state of transcendence is citta saMhati. Pretty close, right? So let's not focus on the citta saMhati. Let's go for the nervous system. So the physical organ of the mind is, the brain is cetA. That's actually, cetA is nerves, neurons, brain cells, gray matter, the brain itself. Physical organs, cetA is everything from the brain to the nerves in our skin. It's nerves, nervous, brain cell, neurons with tendrils and axons, all of it. Okay? That's cetA, cetA. CetA. Nerves, cetA, brain, gray matter, white matter, cetA. The Sanskrit word for system is saMhati. Okay, not samadhi, but saMhati with a T, like a tendril or T. Did I just do a manga reference there? Yeah, I did. saMhati. Complex structures that communicate with each other. saMhati. That's a system, okay? So I don't know if someone wants to write it. cetA saMhati. I sent it to Raven. I think she's not on right now. And I sent it to the translators. Maybe one wants to put it. Oh, we changed time zone in America, but we did not in Europe yet. So maybe even the translators are not following. Anyway, sorry about that. I should have told you guys. My bad. I mean, I don't think about everything, Yeah, you got it. cetA saMhati, the way Ryan just just wrote it. Thanks. Yeah, Jivatan just wrote it. cetA saMhati with the proper Sanskrit capitalization, but it's the same. Ryan, Jivatan, thank you. So cetA saMhati is the nervous system. So it's not just the mass of the brain, that's just cetA, the neurons themselves. saMhati is the fact that there's a constant process going on. Sam means everything, or together, or complete, or all. Yeah, sam, depending on context, means all of that. Okay. Hati is how intellectual structure works, how complex systems work. That's Hati. Okay. So saMhati, how everything just gets together. Okay. The complexity of systems. So that's saMhati. I like to explain the letters, like I said last week, for those who have studied that and want to understand. But if you don't remember all the details of these bija explanation, it's okay. cetA is the brain, the nerves, from the neurons to the nerve endings in your fingers and your skin. It's the nerves in your body that controls the organs, the muscles. And saMhati is the fact that it's a system. cetA saMhati. It's a system. It communicates, it functions. It expresses one part to the other. cetA saMhati. In the neurons, that's the culmination, I think, of the work of Stuart Hameroff on consciousness. In the neurons, the nucleus of the neuron is the machinery, but this is not where consciousness happens. The consciousness happens in the tubules, which are in the tendrils and somewhat in the axon. Okay, so in the tendrils, where everything connects, like every nucleus connects to every neuron it can around, well, that it wants to, it's in the tendrils that are tubules, little tubes, where new particles appear and disappear all the time. It was verified that we call it charge, you can call it electron or photons, it's actually a charge. It's one of those particles that carry energy, appears in the tubules and starts to circulate in the brain, and some that circulate in the brain disappear. They've measured that because sometimes they have activity in the front left of the brain that triggers a response in the back right of the brain, but there was no circuit, there was no physical perception of anything going from this to this. But some charge disappear from this part and some charge appear here at the same time, which means that it is quantum entanglement. Meaning that there are wormholes, portals through space in our brain, where particles go from one part of the brain to another without traveling. It goes through a tubule from one of your neuron connection, disappears and reappears in another tubule, and goes to the other axon. So some of the charge in our brain most of it goes from one neuron to the other in an area, physically traveling through all of these connections. But some of these charge disappear from an area in your brain and reappear in another area of your brain through quantum entanglement. That means teleportation. That means that the theory of wormholes in the universe, where there can be a hole in space-time somewhere in the universe, and a spaceship could go through and reappear somewhere else, has been demonstrated as possible because we have them in our brain. Now that is completely hyper awesome. Okay? And that is how close the Siddhi, cetA, saMhati nervous system is close to citta samadhi, which is the transcendence of the mind. It's pretty awesome, right? cetA saMhati takes the citta samadhi, that I'm not going to explain now, and it grounds it in the physical reality. Yeah, I love it. This is buzzing. This is completely freaking out. Awesome New Age metaphysics. I love it. So, cetA saMhati, the nervous system. Remember, it's not just nerves. It's the brain system. Hey, Raven. Beautiful. cetA saMhati is not just a linear system of communication. The linear part of communication is outside of the brain. When it goes below the brain, there's less and less space-time portals. The lower you get into the brain, the roof, I forgot the name just now. Anyway, when it just becomes a big nerve and goes through the body, okay? When it enters the spine, I just forgot the medical term of this thing that goes down. Anyway, yeah, when it becomes just the communication center, that is linear. They have not observed, although they believe it's possible because there's tubules elsewhere than in the brain, but they have not observed, actually that's what I think I heard, but they have not observed the space-time, medulla espinal and the medulla oblongata and those medullas at the bottom of the brain. Thank you, Shivani. That's one of those. You know, it doesn't matter right now, but yeah, medical science is not my field of work. So the streamlined and linear communication is between the brain and everything else in our body. Okay, but when it gets into the brain, some of it go into quantum reality and come back a fabulous amount of time per nanosecond. It is extremely fast. There's a constant relationship between the unmanifest and the manifest in the brain. Your soul can be extremely advanced and wise, and still your human mental function might decay over time. As you get older. My father's enlightened, and he still has Alzheimer's, and now he cannot function on his own. So the health of the physical brain is what allows that communication. So even if a soul is extremely old, mature, wise, competent, if the human physical manifestation, the physical representation of the soul, which is not necessarily the heart but the brain, if it's not healthy, it cannot pass that soul experience back into the body. So what happens at that time, when the soul cannot direct the decisions, the animal directs the decisions. So a human that loses mental function becomes like a baby again. Starts to lose control when it urinates or does its feces. It starts to lose control over speech, over movement. And it starts to have the kind of expression and moments like a baby has. Like a child and then a baby. You know, it goes back in time. Because it's the genetic code. Like in our body, if the soul is not directing the mind, the animal takes over so we can persist and not die. Okay? So as a baby, our genetics is in charge. And as our mind grows, the brain is not complete enough to take an entire soul until we're about the age of 20, early 20s. Okay? So we are capable of evolving as a teenager already. But there are very advanced philosophical concepts that we are physically unable to support until we're in our early 20s, when the brain is finally all developed, if we did not ruin the process in the teenagers. Never did, but I know some did, and it's okay. For me, it was alcohol since very young. So, yeah, that's what I had to explain about it. It's pretty cool. As our brain evolves, it can physically handle the soul. And then, from the early 20s, well, from teenagers, we can be very advanced spiritually. But there are a few things that our mind won't get. And I was, myself, Mahavajra, this soul that has all this experience. And I got the best of it in the early 20s. Although I got everything, I think I got pretty much everything from the Rishinaya, except equity. I didn't get that one. But from the Rishinaya, I was pretty well developed in my teens. Like principles of compassion, everything. But advanced metaphysics, the working of the universe, it still takes time. For every time I'm born, I have to regrow a body that can handle it and a mind that can handle it. Okay. And the Dalai Lama explained something similar. I'm gonna keep it short, but I like his wisdom because he's one of the top cheese of consciousness. And basically, because it is known in Tibet that he is the same soul that comes back, they have a lot of knowledge about this reincarnation. So the Dalai Lama expresses he has to retrain everything. But the virtuous part comes very fast. The knowledge part, he has to re-educate, but it's also fast. And as he grows old, he will lose the ability to channel this into his human. He will remain wise. But yeah, the mind gets slower and, stuff happens. It's a random thing. I mean, depending on how you treated your mind during your lifetime, it might persist in old age or it might decay. I know for sure my memory is not what it used to be. But the virtue is way up there. Yeah, I still have it. So, yeah. Apply this wisdom to yourself. In the practice of cetA saMhati, keep your brain function healthy. Could regenerate, but no guarantee. But maintain the stability and the health. That's the idea. And allow the soul to stay in that human as much as it can. Keep up the higher philosophical functions. Any Siddhi like this has an aspect of personal growth. Basically, if you always do personal growth in every aspect, you just cover all the bases. I like to say which mask is better to work on, or which aspect of us is better to work on for a specific Siddhi. So I will say for cetA saMhati is the denials. Work on the shame, the fear, and the pride. That's one part. And also on power, control, manipulation, like I said last week, for the muscles. So why would we work on the denials is to stay aware. Keep the cetA saMhati capable of channeling the consciousness. And that means awareness. And power, control, and manipulation resolve the masks of the ego so that our nervous system can manage the positive aspect of power, having some control, to be in charge, and manipulation, to be precise and agile. Okay? So obviously any type of personal growth will just make everything better. Just keep doing your best. Okay? cetA saMhati. cetA saMhati. cetA saMhati. cetA saMhati. cetA saMhati. cetA saMhati. Just know that there's this constant quantum exchange, soul to body, body to soul at the same time, as the same thing and as apparently separated things. But the soul is in a state of oneness with your brain. It is your human that does not know that, but your soul is merged with it. It doesn't see it as a separated thing. It's its dense part, the brain and the body. cetA saMhati. Keep the system efficient. So obviously the Siddhi will help with reducing stress, make more regular the heartbeat, tachycardia, if you have it. A little parenthesis on that. If you have a lot of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi emitters close to you, you'll make more tachycardia. There will be less consistency in your nerve function, all of them, including the heart. That's a study of the effect of microwave on the body. That's why I'll always keep 3 meters distance between me and the Wi-Fi emitter in my house, because Wi-Fi is so freaking awesome and efficient, and we loves it. My Wi-Fi router is a powerful one, so the side that goes to the wall, I don't care, it goes to the outside of the house, but the side that goes forward, there's 3 layers of aluminum around it. It did diminish the power of my Wi-Fi by 50%, and also the effect of it on my body. And I know it because I took the time to measure. It's the same amount of beats per minute, but the coherence, tac, 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 you know, the coherence of when it goes faster, slower, it's more stable when you have less Wi-Fi. So that's how doctors measure the coherence of your heartbeat. So you can have 80 beats per minute with or without tachycardia, but if it keeps going too fast, too slow, too fast, too slow, or if it's more even, that's how to measure it. Okay, and that's why I demonstrated that the Wi-Fi has an effect on all your nerves. If it affects how your nerve system communicate to your heart, it affects how your nerve system communicate to everything. So if you have your phone with the Wi-Fi open at 1.5 feet from your head every night when you sleep, and it keeps getting those notifications, it's not a lot because you're not downloading a file, you're not active, but it's a ping. So keep the phone away or shut down, put it in airplane mode or something like that. Okay, just saying, this is science, this is not hippie. But I love Wi-Fi, I love what it brings, so I meditated on it, made a harmonious pact with my Wi-Fi emitter and with my cell phone, transmigrating to them and say, we want to be in harmony, so we'll keep you away and weak, but I love the data transfer. And my body said, okay, I'll make peace with that. And I used to meditate on the Siddhi nervous system. Before I decided to search what it was in Sanskrit, cetA, saMhati, I would just do the Siddhi nervous system. You can do it in your home language if you don't know the name of the thing. But I'm happy to know about cetA saMhati. So close it is to Chitta Samadhi, but it's the physical, functional aspect of it. It's really cool. The structure, it is a T instead of a D, and that's good. Yeah, cetA saMhati. That was a nice class. That was a nice hippie class. Yeah. cetA saMhati, nervous system. Keep it healthy, functional. Keep the nerve cells growing and happy. What do we do next week? Organs. Not any specific organ, so it's not going to be the heart or the kidneys, it's just organs. Okay? We won't go in details every organ in this process. We're doing organs. Okay? So you see the logic of what we're doing. Yeah? The bone marrow, to take care of the bone and the immune system, the blood, the tendons and ligaments, to transfer force, the muscle, to generate that force, the nervous system, to connect all this physical stuff to the soul to the body, and let it communicate together. Next step, the organs. Until then, I like to say the next step. Now, just so you know, okay, it's going to communicate to the organs. Well, you're doing nervous system now, so it obviously communicates with something. Peace.